Hey everybody. I just spent the last half hour trying to do a Facebook Live and realized that my iPhone, iPad, Mac, the software is not compatible with doing Facebook Live right now. So then I tried to use Chrome on my MacBook to use um, to open up Facebook because that's opened it in the past, and I was able to do a live video before, and that didn't work. So my goal today was to talk to everybody about thyroid hormone and be able to look at questions and look at the chat, but that's not going to happen. So I wanted to get this information out before I forgot about it and before I was lost the emotional intensity that I wanted to share with you. So yesterday, I saw a post, and it was on a huge page that has several thousand followers, and somebody wrote that they had some symptoms of hyperthyroidism, and they posted some lab results, and their TSH was like not measurable. And so I made the mistake of posting that, well, you probably don't feel well because you have given yourself hyperthyroidism because you're using too much thyroid hormone. And the people in the group did not like my comment. So I wanted to explain why I said that and just go down a little bit of a rabbit hole on thyroid just for a minute, okay? I don't want to talk more than about 15 minutes, hopefully less than that, hopefully 10 minutes. So here is my quick note on thyroid hormone. Okay, so I can't do this very quickly, but anyway, thyroid hormone is what's responsible for our metabolism, for binding with receptors on our cells, and help turning on the mechanism of all of these chemical processes in our cells. All right, so I kind of think about thyroid hormone as kind of the gasoline. It's not really gasoline because it's more, carbs and proteins and stuff are more like the gasoline. So maybe it's more like the gas pedal in your car. And so the more thyroid hormone you have active in your body, it's like pushing down on the gas of your car. And our bodies are they're so complex. Every cell has to communicate with other cells. I mean, the complexity of the human body is just beyond our ability to understand. So anyway, our brain is kind of where the thermostat for how much thyroid hormone we're ultimately needing should be determined by our brains and the hypothalamus and thalamus and pituitary system. And believe me, it is so complicated that I would have to go back and return to med school and to review all of the hormones that are involved in that. But the big part of it is that our TSH, our thyroid stimulating hormone, is a very, very important component in this entire system. And our thyroid stimulating hormone is made in our pituitary gland in response to other hormones that are coming down to talk to the pituitary gland, to tell the pituitary gland how much TSH to make in order to tell our thyroid gland how much thyroid hormone to make. And so our pituitary gland is going to be more like a thermostat when it comes to telling the thyroid gland how much hormone to make. And so like a thermostat, what happens is if your temperature in your house is too cold and the temperature is going down, the thermostat's going to pop on and it's going to send a message to turn on the furnace in your house so it gets the temperature into normal range. So what happens if so same thing with our thyroid. If we don't have enough thyroid hormone circulating, then our brain, our pituitary is going to tell our thyroid to make more thyroid hormone, right? Well, what happens if we ignore that signal? So what happens if we have more thyroid hormone available than our brain really wants us to have? Well, what's going to happen is our pituitary is going to not tell our thyroid to make more thyroid hormone, and so you're going to have a reduced TSH until our body needs more thyroid hormone to be produced in our thyroid gland. So that seems pretty simple, right? So this is just kind of like, something that we had to learn in medical school. And anybody who's seeing patients of any sort should have this knowledge that if your TSH is way too high, it means that you need more thyroid hormone. You might not be able to make enough in your thyroid glands. And if your TSH is too low, either your pituitary is not working correctly or you have more thyroid hormone than you need. And some of those things are going to be like Graves' disease or Hashimoto's thyroiditis, where your thyroid is being stimulated to put out too much thyroid hormone. But now there's another thing that a lot of people are doing, and that's they're using more thyroid hormone than they really need, because they're going to I'm not going to say any names, but they're going to see people who are using advanced thyroid studies with people, and they're determining, well, maybe your free T3 is a little bit too low, and if we get that into higher range, you're going to feel a lot better. And so instead of it, so they go on, extra thyroid hormone, and oh my gosh, they do feel better for a little bit. So, their metabolism might go up because they have more thyroid hormone available to push these metabolic reactions like your metabolism in your cells. So maybe your mitochondria are going to produce more energy for a little bit. And so what happens is having that extra thyroid hormone available, and it's usually going to be T3, because they don't think T4 actually works, even though that's what your thyroid is really making. So they're going to be on extra T3, and they're going to feel really good for a little bit, maybe, because like I said, they might have some weight loss, their metabolism might be faster, they might have a little bit more energy, and they might feel good for a little bit. But what's happening is they are ignoring a very important signal from your body, from your brain, and they are choosing to ignore that signaling process. And that is kind of scary. If you choose to ignore something that is hardwired in us to keep us safe from too much thyroid hormone, I think you could agree that that could potentially be a bad thing, right? Too much of something is not a good thing. So let's talk about really briefly what can happen if you have too much thyroid hormone. So there are things that can happen immediately if you have too much thyroid hormone, and that can be like, oh my gosh, you have all this energy, but it can manifest in heart palpitations, anxiety, fear, dread, fast heart rate, increased load on your heart, increasing your risk of, potentially having something bad happen there. Um, what else? Just like feeling like you're wired, you know, maybe interfering with your sleep because you might not be able to relax very well at night. So then that can cause, sleep issues, which can cause, fatigue, and it can lead to feeling tired but wired. So you're tired, but you feel wired. So because you have so much of your sympathetic nervous system that's kind of keyed up. So what could, having too much thyroid hormone, what could that be similar to? Well, it could be similar to drinking too much caffeine. Maybe it's similar to using, stimulants for attention deficit disorder, like Adderall and Ritalin. Or ultimately, it could be similar to using cocaine or meth, because everything's kind of on this continuum where they're like increasing your sympathetic nervous system. So too much thyroid hormone is going to be one of those things that increases your sympathetic nervous system output. And ultimately, anything in that category that's increasing your sympathetic nervous system too much is going to lead to fatigue, exhaustion, and something alternative medicine people talk about, which is adrenal fatigue, which you'll never hear in a traditional medical handbook or website. The idea of adrenal fatigue is just that if there's something that's a chronic stressor on your adrenal glands, then eventually they're not going to be able to keep putting out the cortisol and adrenaline and stuff that we need, and it'll leave you in a feeling of exhaustion. So that's one of the reasons that having too much thyroid hormone can be a cause ultimately of fatigue and exhaustion and adrenal fatigue. So anyway, and then other things that can occur would be like, you're increasing your cardiac output, but continually. You can have thinning and loss of your hair. You can have emotional things eventually, like manic episodes, or ultimately you can get depressed because you're kind of like, it's kind of like having that, like I said before, like having the gas down too far for too long, and you're just going to burn out your engine really quickly if your gas is always to the metal. You have your gas on the pedal, and you have to like use your brakes while your gas is still, while your foot's still on the gas. It's crazy. It would wear out your engine in your car and other things, and it will wear out your bones in your body, and cause all sorts of issues. So, and then one other thing that I wanted to talk about is that there are, one of the reasons this whole process gets started is that a lot of people have hypothyroid symptoms. So hypo means low. So a lot of people are walking around with low thyroid symptoms, and they go to their doctor, and they're told their thyroid levels are normal. And in fact, their TSH is normal, and their free T4 and, is probably normal, and their free T3 might be a tiny little bit low or whatever. But anyway, they still have these hypothyroid symptoms. And those are things like, feeling cold, hair loss, again, the loss of the outer part of your eyebrows, swelling in your tissues, slow reflexes, weight gain, and, metabolism issues. So they have all of these thyroid symptoms, but their thyroid levels truly are normal. And that's when they can get into this go down this rabbit hole where they get put on too much thyroid hormone, because you will improve some of those symptoms for a short period of time. But what's the cause that they have these hypothyroid symptoms and they have normal, their brains feel like they have the right amount of thyroid hormone, but they still have, fatigue, exhaustion, all these other things going on. And here's what I think it is. I think it's the fact is the amount of thyroid hormone they have is normal, but there might be two potential things that are happening. And number one is they might not be converting T4, which is what your thyroid makes, to T3, which is the active thyroid hormone in their bodies. And so that might be number one. And number two is they may not, that active T3 might not be binding to their thyroid receptors on their cells very well. So there could be a whole bunch of other things. But then you look at what could cause those issues, and the three common things that I have seen with, a bunch of people in the office who get their hormones checked is, number one, they are estrogen dominant. So they have too much estrogen, or they have too much estrogen in relationship to the progesterone that they have. So that's number one. Number two is maybe they don't have enough estrogen at all. So maybe low levels of estrogen might do that as well. Number three is that people who have lots of cortisol or who are highly stressed, and maybe people who don't have enough cortisol, may not have effective conversion from T4 to T3, or the ability to utilize the T3 that you have. So that might be a problem. And then the last thing is your iodine. They may not have enough iodine in their body to utilize thyroid hormone at a cellular level. So low iodine is also a possibility. And that can also be related to things like drinking sodas like Mountain Dew, orange soda, anything that's like a yellow soda has something called brominated vegetable oil, and that bromide can interfere with the function of your iodine. So anyway, that's a bunch. That's almost 18 minutes on thyroid stuff. So I think it's just really important to be really careful with stuff that you're hearing online, because sometimes the people who are posting, or the people who started those groups, or the people who, have huge websites with hundreds of thousands of people sometime, and yet they don't understand, some of these other factors that go into thyroid hormone. And if you make some of these mistakes, it could be potentially very bad in the long run. So anyway, that is it for now. I was gonna post, there should be a link for the thyroid class if you want to learn more. This was a lot, so I totally understand if you're like, oh, my brain is full. I get that. A couple of things, other ways to work with me. If you have seen me in the office for your hormones before, I would highly recommend that you join my group it's going to be in a platform called Circle, and I will put a link underneath here. If you have seen me in the past, I would highly recommend you join this group, because there's just so much information that I would like to share with people, and help people really have a foundational idea and knowledge of things that are really important for your health. All right, so people who have seen me, join my Circle group, and there is a cost. If you can't afford it, send me a direct message and let me know, where you would be at. And if you're like a single parent, like I've been for a long time, or if you're on a Social Security or something like that, I'll make that a lot less expensive for you. The other thing is, if you have not seen me for your hormones in the past, I'm starting a 12-week group like that is going to guide somebody through everything they need to know to at least know how to get started with your hormones, and telling you the pitfalls of hormone replacement, like how do you test? How do you replace it? How do you keep from getting overdosed on, huge doses of hormones? And it's going to be a 12-week course. And if you go through the whole 12 weeks, at the end, truly my vision for this is that you would walk away with enough education that you would learn how to test your hormones, how to order your own testing if you want to. You could order it from me if you want to, but how to order your own testing, the different types of testing, how to replace your own hormones. And that's going to be like secret in the group, but you can like replace your own hormones, and how to know how to keep them in balance for a lifetime of better health. All right. So I will have more information. If you know you want to do this and get started on this right away, send me a direct message and I'll send you the link to the class. It is more expensive. It is an investment in your health, because I have invested so much of my own time and money and crushing effort into learning this information for people, that I want to work with people who are somewhat invested in their own health and are going to show up and learn this information so that they can get a really good outcome. And if the outcome is, not to go to a pellet clinic, that's a good outcome. If you know how to find the right person, that's a good outcome, because it could save you a lot of big problems. If the outcome is you want to know how to balance your own hormones, then I want to help you with that. So if you want to know, send me a direct message and I'll get some information back to you. And otherwise, thank you for watching. Sorry that this isn't a Facebook Live. The tech really got me today. And so I have my 22-year-old friend who's going to show me what I did wrong in just a little bit. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.